My current opponent has some legislation on the books to take away your right to vote for Ohio's apportionment board. Ladies and gentlemen, never, ever give away any of your current rights to vote. Right now, you and I vote for the majority of the members on Ohio's apportionment board. Those are the individuals that every 10 years reapportion Ohio's legislature, and then the legislature reapportions the congressional seats. Right now, it's the governor, it's the state auditor, and it's the secretary of state. And then there's an appointment from each party. That's the majority there. My opponent says he wants to create another unelected bureaucracy. Ohio does not need more backroom, smoke-filled horse jockeying where lobbyists can go in and focus on a select few instead of the voters. I trust you. You're going to do the right thing. You're going to, especially primary voters, you're going to study the issues and the candidates. You know what you're doing. It reminds me of judicial races, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago, where the judges wanted to be appointed in Ohio. Put it on the ballot, and we said, like heck, we're going to vote on our judges. Same thing here. Do not give up your right to vote. Do not. Other issues, right now, liberals are pushing universal registration. I'm wholeheartedly against that, unless it can be done where you verify if the voter is truly a citizen and eligible to vote. Here's what they're going to do. Here's what they want to do now. They want to take data like our public assistance rolls, our driver's license, our tax records, and automatically register all the individuals on that. Think about that for a minute. We have individuals own property in more than one area. We have individuals on public assistance and have driver's license that aren't citizens. You know what that'll do? That will automate voter registration fraud. It's nonsensical. What I find amazing about that is the same groups of people who are pushing for that are fighting us in Ohio, saying, you can't use state databases to match new voter registrations. Those databases aren't accurate. Well, if they're not accurate to match new voter registration, well, they certainly aren't accurate for automatic voter registration. You can't have it both ways. I'm a proponent of early voting. Ohio is way beyond the other states on that issue. We need to have more early voting. I like Texas in particular. In 2008, Harris County had 50% of their eligible voters vote early. It takes so much of the burden off local election boards when it actually comes time to vote. Less chance of having to have provisional ballots. In their particular instance, because I know that there are some people on the boards of elections, they go out early voting in numerous locations 17 days prior to an election, and they end the Friday before the Tuesday of election, allowing the transition to election day mode. And it works out extremely well. I want to tell you, the issue in my race here is trust. I trust Board of Election employees. You have the education and the experience to run your election in your county the way that you see fit. I do not administer from top down. The individuals that run our elections are our neighbors. For goodness sakes, they get up at 5 a.m. in the morning to work for practically nothing because they believe in our democracy and the process of voting. And I trust you. The actual Ashland, which the machines that you use to vote on, is probably fine for Ashland. And your Board of Elections should decide what is best for your county. What works here may not work in Cuyahoga. I'm not one size fits all. Our government doesn't work like that. I'm trying to think if I'm hitting all the points. What I'm asking you to do is to look at all of your candidates and don't be fooled. It's one thing to say you are a conservative. It's another thing to vote and act like one. Again, my opponent has raised through taxes, and I fought against it. I'm telling you what, ladies and gentlemen, I am not running to protect my power. I'm running because I'm one of you. I want to promote our principles. We all have different strengths. One of my strengths is, when I first decided to get into politics, I was married to a guy who loved it, party chairman, and I was the doting wife by his side so I could be with him instead of having him go off to all these functions. And then I ran, defeated a 20-year incumbent in a Democratic county, and I'm a Republican, and it was just shocking that I beat him. How did I beat him? I'm enthusiastic, aggressive, and hardworking. Cheerleader, high school, college, and I just met 15,000 people in my county. Asheville, the largest county land-wise in the state of Ohio. I had people when I showed up at the door said, "Sandy, this is the third time I'm meeting you. I'm going to vote for you. Put a sign in my yard." I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm looking at their name on the list. D by their name. I said, works for me. And that's how I beat the guy. Was complacent, thinking, I'm the incumbent, she doesn't have a chance. He told somebody, she's just a teacher, nobody knows her. So, having gotten in, that after I got in, and I learned to pick my battles, then the opposite party would come at me every 4 years, saying, we got to get her out of there. I am a true believer in transparency. And when you're the county auditor, you keep the books, you pay the bills. So when the commissioners would say, we're not telling you what we spent on that consultant, I'd say, come here, the auditor will tell you. Because once they spent it, you can't argue. I cut the check and this is what it was for. Which, when you have liberal politicians, they don't like all that information going out. Sunshine is the best disinfectant. Keep our government open. So you can see why they would raise massive money and come at me every 4 years. But I was still standing, and I decided to give it up after 12 years. It was somebody else's term. So what I decided that a month or two after that, I go to my husband, I said, you know what, there's a lady who is, I'm talking 06, who is Treasurer of State, Jeanette Bradley. I can't vote for this woman. She's pro-choice, I'm pro-life, no exceptions. She's anti-Second Amendment, I'm pro-Second Amendment, NRA member, concealed carry gal. I said, no. Big taxation, big government spender, just everything that I didn't stand for. And a lot of conservatives like myself couldn't vote for her. So I said, I'm going to run for state treasurer. I mean, my husband's looking at me like, we should have moved closer to Columbus. We're so far from everything. So at the time, our party chairman in the state was Chairman Bennett. Of course, I had known him being an elected Republican in Democratic County, and he over and over again said, you can't do this, Sandy. I said, I'm going to do this. We need a conservative in the race. If you remember, Taft had her as lieutenant governor, and then when the state treasurer became open, he appointed her there. So I did run, and I thank you, Ashland County, because I won 65 of the 88 counties in the primary, and your county was extremely good to me. Thanks also to your party chairman here. I appreciate that very, very, very much. But what you did is you looked at the candidates, and you decided who the true conservative was. I'm telling you that I'm able to do this. I can articulate our position, but I can't do this by myself. I do have my petition here. I need help getting it signed. Or if you think you know enough Republicans, I have extra petitions I can give you. There's still time for that. They have to be filed by February 18th. But I do want to be your next Secretary of State, and it does matter how we feel about these issues, because we all know Ohio is musical chairs because of term limits. So once someone gets in, they move around. So you need to ask them about issues besides just the office they're running for. It does matter. It's a lot easier to elect a conservative in the first place instead of electing a Republican in name only, like Senator Houston, getting in there and saying, hey, now listen to me. And he looks at you and says, where's your checkbook? You're not a big lobbyist, special interest person here. Sure, call you later. Call you later. Okay, I'm not like that. I'm one of you. I'll take your calls. I'll listen to you. I'm anchored. I don't get my power from government. I get it from God. What's going on here? The elected officials work for us. It's not the other way around. And until we elect people who truly are anchored in our principles, we're not going to change things around. But what I see across the state of Ohio, I wish you could see from my eyes.